All right, here's introduction to Sikkens. Some brand confusion is people will ask for Sikkens. I still refer to it as Sikkens because that's what it's always been. The product hasn't changed. Most of the names haven't changed of the products, but the name brand Sikkens is no longer licensed by PPG in Canada. So PPG bought Sikkens from AkzoNobel. It now is just called Proluxe. No, not Sikkens Proluxe, that's even a too new a label. It is now called Proluxe as it is on this brochure here. But when people are asking for Sikkens, that's what they mean. There is no other version of it. It's not like you can get that this is a knockoff, this is a competitor. This is the same stuff, still produced in Michigan in the exact same plant, using the same formulas. The classifications for there, the main one is going to be SRD. SRD is probably the easiest product to sell. It goes under very wet wood. It can go onto wood with an 18% moisture content, which is considered quite wet for wood. You still want 2 days of dry weather before you're putting this on, but it will penetrate well into wood, very thin. This is a one coat. It will specify in the brochure, specify in the can, it's a single coat product. A lot of people over the years, we've had lots of customers that two coat it and seem to have good success. Wet on wet coat it seem to have good success, but according to the brochure, it is a single coat product. I have been selling people on kind of wet on wet coating because a lot of problems with these stains is people don't put enough stain on, and that's why it fails prematurely or wears off quicker than it should. Wet on wet coating generally causes people to put it on and flood coat the product where they get more of it onto there. The SRD brochure in particular is a really good one to look for information. When you open it up, one, it shows you colors. Two, you're going to see preparation procedure. This gives you some great information as far as new pressure treated wood requires a 6-week drying period. That's in a kind of an average climate. Ours, if you got a moisture meter, can be as little as a week if the wood is spaced out and drying. But 6 weeks is always a safe period. Generally at that point, there's no grain to the wood, so people can coat it. The other thing is it's going to tell you that before you put this product on a deck that has had either our waterproofer or Thompson's water seal, that product needs to be a full year old. So that's second line listed there. Then it also goes through all your types of prep work using TSP and bleach to prep the wood or sanding, the different things here. This is a great brochure that can give you a lot of confidence when you're talking to a customer, because you can basically just point out the lines, and then it's not just you spouting off information that they're not sure if it's accurate or not. It goes over the square footage coverage, everything in there. SRD is extremely akin to the Benjamin Classic oils, the 326, 328, and 329. Similar level of solids. Difference is Sikkens is 100% petroleum-based products versus all the Benjamin Classic oils either use tung oil, teak oil, or linseed oil with petroleum dryers to make them dry out. Positive benefits to both. SRD is going to dry quicker because it's just petroleum based versus the Benjamin is going to dry slower. Positives are ready for rain is going to be quicker with SRD, but penetration, because it's drying slower, may be better with the Benjamin one. I've used both of them. Both are good products. No problems with selling either. Both of those products, though, don't really want to go over an existing coating unless it's extremely weathered or almost completely gone, which there's going to be some prep involved before they should put it on. If they're going to be putting SRD on, again, one coat this year, one coat next year if they're doing a single coat. If they're doing a wet on wet, then the wet on wet this year, and then 2 years from now, a single coat, kind of on an every 2-year maintenance cycle, just to keep the wood fresh and sealed. Past that, for that and SRD and the 328 and 329s, all of those go onto any surface, deck furniture, decks, siding, window trim, all of that. Past that, you have two steps up from there. You have CTOL 1 and 2, 3, which is a bit of an older product. It works as CTOL 1 is your first coat, 2, 3 plus is your second and third coat, and then 2, 3 plus is also your maintenance coating. So generally CTOL 1's only going to be used on bare wood, but if people want just a one can solution, it can be built as thick as 3 coats. The disadvantage of using CTOL 1 and 3 coats versus CTOL 1 with 2, 3, CTOL 1's a very thin coat. So when you do 3 coats of that, there's no way it'll last as long as one with 2 coats of the other on top. This product was slated to go away, but there's a lot of diehards that like using it. It is a more expensive way with a lot more labor and shorter lasting than using Log and siding. Log and siding is definitely more expensive per can, about 50% more, but it's a 2-coat product. It's only 1 can, so you don't have the waste of Ceto 1 with the waste of 2, 3. And then when you go to recoat it, you use the same product. It's a much better product, lasts longer, less labor to put on. It's kind of they called it next wave when it came out. It really was a leaps and bounds above Ceto 1 and 2, 3. Almost exactly same product as log and siding is deck finish, except deck finish is a much harder product for use on decks. If somebody uses log and siding on a deck, totally fine for flip-flop and barefoot traffic, but dragging furniture or something, it's soft, it will mar. Deck finish is much more like a varnish type coating, very hard. You can drag things across it with it holding up well. But again, some of that will be determined by how hard the wood itself is. Cedar's softer. Deck finish versus log and siding, when to use and where. Both of these products will stick to virtually anything, but if the products underneath them aren't sound, then of course they won't last. Deck finish can be used on decks or anything that's exposed. So if somebody wants to use it on a fence that's really exposed, or deck furniture, that's fine. What you don't want to use this on is something like siding. The disadvantage of using it on siding is it will eventually get hard over time without a lot of sun exposure, and it will get cracking in it, and then you get spots that will flake off. Log and siding will always remain soft and much more pliable, so if it's something like a log house, when you get up under the eaves, it will never end up where it cracks and checks and starts to blister because it gets too hard, because it remains soft. That's the main difference between log and siding and deck. Deck is cheaper, so a lot of people want to use it on a lot more surfaces, and nothing wrong with fences, decks, furniture like that, but you just got to watch areas that aren't exposed or that are going to not see weather just over time, that they will get hard and cracked. That kind of goes through all of it. Past Rubal. Rubal is Sikkens solid coating. Only has 2 bases, 110 and 140. All the colors that they show here are all made out of those bases. There's no color matching software for it, so it is a harder product when people want to color match. It uses the old coloring system. It's a good product, seems to hold up very well, but it does not use the new colorant, so it's going to be more fade prone than Arbor Coat. The reason I often sell this is it goes on to a lot of surfaces that Arbor Coat is not approved to, such as Trex and Duradeck. They're mentioned in the brochures as products that it can stick to, but it is always suggested you do a test patch, that you take a corner of a Trex board or something, stain it with the Rubal, let it sit, and then after a few days try to scratch it off. But seems to be very adherent for going over a multitude of products. Both Arbor Coat Solid and Rubal will go over any existing coating. They'll go over a dulled down version of log and siding or old oil coating, and they will also go over paints. So if somebody has a painted deck, you can sell Arbor Coat Solid or Rubal Solid, and both of those will stick very well. The advantage of them over a paint is breathability rating. Paint is going to be less breathable, with the exception of Aura. Aura has an extremely high breathing rate, and that's why for me is kind of the Cadillac product for decks. It is waterproof to moisture sitting on it, but it will breathe it out when it inevitably gets in, either from rolling down the side of the board or soaking in the bottom, or through screw holes, scratches in the coating. So somebody wants solid, Arbor Coat and Rubal are great products, but other than the cost factor, Aura seems to be the best, longest lasting coating. And other than that, I think that wraps everything up.